So I'm going to start off with kind of discussing a little bit about the hybrid workforce and the challenges that they face today, and then how we go about and address those problems. So for most of us, working in a hybrid world today, if you think about the architecture of the world today and how, companies are either completely remote or some form of a hybrid workforce, the major concern and the major problem that we're now working in this post-COVID hybrid world is we want that in-office like experience, but we want it for our remote users. And so here at Cloudbrink, we have kind of focused on breaking up our product into what we refer to as our 3 pillars. And basically these pillars emphasize the things that customers that we've heard in the workforce are the most important to them. So performance being number 1, security being number 2, and visibility of your user and workforce being number 3, not necessarily in any particular order, but those are the 3 main pillars that we focus on here at Cloudbrink. And so for the remote user working, whether we're working at home, whether we're in the office, or whether we're in like a remote location or a coffee shop or a hotel or whatever, most of us are hovering around 1 to 2% of packet loss when we work in those cases. And most of that loss occurs in the last mile. And so if you think about how the leg of a connection is broken down to, you've got your first mile, your mid mile, and your last mile. So most of that loss occurs in the last mile. And what we start to see is, we have weaker signals, higher delays, congestion due to oversubscription. And what that impact generally is for us is we end up having a poor remote access experience. So whether it's poor file transfers and downloads, a bad VDI session, bad data transfer rates, UCaaS calls like Teams and Zoom and Google Meet and things like that not coming through clear and things like that. So those are generally the challenges that we face today working in this hybrid world. And so what we here at Cloudbrink do is this is how we go about handling this. So I'm going to focus first off on the performance side of the house, and then I'll get into a little bit of the security side as well, and then talk about a little bit about how Google Cloud is helping us to solve this problem. Okay. So like I said, most of us are experiencing that loss in that last mile. And so one of the things that happens once we connect into is we refer to our edge network as so basically the Brink Edge network. We refer to our edges as a fast edge. Our edges are very ephemeral in nature, and our edges exist in cloud space. And so if you were to look at like a map of Google Cloud on where they have their local zones and availability zones and things like that throughout the world, basically anywhere that they have one of those locations, we can deploy an edge. And once an edge is deployed, the mindset is that with our edges being more ephemeral, more being easy to spin up within cloud space, we can bring those edges much closer to where users are sitting. And so once you're connected into the edge network, what we're also creating is an overlay network that gets applied to that connection. And in that overlay, we're doing things like packet piggybacking, packet deduplication, forward error correction. We're doing some caching at the local edge, some modification of the Windows file size. We're doing close to 70 different checks and optimizations in that overlay. And that overlay is designed to reduce loss. So if you're thinking about the way that packet loss, latency, jitter, anything like that affects the quality of a connection, as soon as that loss goes up, you see a drastic downturn in performance. And so through our overlay and our connectivity to our edge network, we're able to bring that loss down to 0 or as close to 0 as possible. And when you can reduce loss as much as possible, you see now an upturn in performance. And so through that overlay network, we're doing some things like proactive packet recovery. We're accelerating that traffic forwarding. And what that really ends up doing in the end is it gives you faster access to your applications. It gives you smoother audio and video on your UCaaS calls. It gives you more of a reliable session in your VDI experience and accessing applications and services like that. And in a lot of cases, we can see upwards of a 30x increase in performance on those data transfers and things like that. In addition to the overlay that's being applied in the last mile, we're also doing some mid-mile optimization as well. And so because of our relationship with Google or with cloud services like Google Cloud, we are able to essentially piggyback in on those HOV lanes of the internet that we like to refer to them as. And so we're not as susceptible to the loss and saturation that you would see on a public circuit, because we're being able to take advantage of that backbone that's already provisioned by those cloud providers. And so that's how we're able to accomplish the performance side of the house when delivering our solution to our customers. Google Services and Cloudbrink. So Google has been a fantastic partner for us in allowing us to create more of a dense network of edge coverage throughout the Google Cloud, helping basically us to bring those edges closer to where our users are sitting geographically. And in most cases, we can bring that edge anywhere from 5 to 20 milliseconds away for about 80% of the population of the world, because of the prevalence of cloud architecture today. And that also allows us to access those numerous applications that are hosted in those cloud services, like the G Suite of applications and things like Twitter and PayPal as well, that are services like that are hosted in the Google Cloud. My personal experience that I always like to share, because me personally, I am connected to a Google Cloud edge. So I live about 30 minutes south of Salt Lake City, and my nearest edge is in Salt Lake City in Google Cloud. So that is my nearest edge that I connect into. And my perfect example is I live in a fairly newer residential area, but I don't have fiber or anything in my network or in my neighborhood yet. And so I have a wireless connection on my roof. And before I started using Cloudbrink, one of my biggest complaints was I would have poor performance and connectivity on my UCaaS calls. And so once I started using Cloudbrink, I don't experience that loss anymore. Usually my audio and my video comes through very clean. And it's all because of that edge proximity to the edge, and then that overlay network that's applied with the Cloudbrink solution. In addition to our applications that are hosted, we define applications as two different things. We have what are called application services and enterprise services. So an application service is any application that we define that's hosted in cloud space. So anything that's publicly accessible. Access to those applications, you never have to leave our edge network. We'll take you all the way to the source, wherever it's sitting in that cloud. But for private applications that are, say, hosted in like GCP, for example, we do have a connector that gets deployed in that cloud space. That connector is completely software-based. We have an image that gets deployed in the Google Cloud to access those private applications hosted in GCP. And really what that offers you able to do is, we don't care where the application sits. We don't care where you geographically sit. We're going to provide a way for you to access all of those applications. And through that connection, we're going to give you an overall better quality of experience to improve the performance to those applications sitting in those spaces. And then, like I said in that previous slide, a lot of times we can see up to a 30x increase in performance over other VPN products and services provided for access to products or applications in GCP. We are a zero trust network access solution built on an SDP architecture. And part of that SDP compliant access is there are only outbound connections allowed. We do not allow any inbound ports to those connectors that are hosted there. And we give you more of that dark cloud security, because those private apps are never exposed to the internet. They're always sitting behind that connector. And then also we guarantee the ability to access that, applications in multi-different data centers across numerous VNets and VPCs, essentially just deploying a connector wherever you need to have access to those applications. And those connectors get onboarded into your solution to allow you to have access to all of those applications, regardless of where they sit. So overall, the quality of experience that we're offering is, so we partnered with a company called Broadband Testing Center, who validated these speeds. So in accessing GCP files and on Google Drive, they were seeing upwards of a 30x increase in faster transfer speeds. When accessing your G Suite applications, you're going to see faster loading of emails and documents and more responsive web pages. On your Google Meet, you're going to see a better, higher quality audio and video, and then more resiliency into that up to a 40% packet loss. We're going to help to overcome and improve through that overlay. I do want to take a few minutes too, just to talk a little bit about the security side of the house as well. So when you think of a zero trust solution and what it means in today's terms, first and foremost, we have that full integration with a SAML2 provider to provide that that level of multi-factor authentication on the front end through an identity provider. We have a fully built out host checker utility to provide device posture assessment on those devices to make sure you not only trust the user, but you trust the device that's connecting in as well. We have a built-in firewall as a service option that allows you to build your policy not only at the IP level, but at the port and protocol level as well. But two of the major differentiators as well for us in that overall experience is we are doing mutually authenticated TLS 1.3 at the transport layer, validating that user, that certificate from the source all the way to the destination, taking advantage of the latest encryption standards in TLS 1.3, but also in addition to how we handle key distribution. Basically, what we do is we maintain and manage our own PKI infrastructure as opposed to a cert that might be cut from a CA that gets applied to an existing solution that could be valid for a year or longer. We're maintaining that PKI infrastructure ourselves, and we assign a unique certificate for every single device that logs in, and we're refreshing that certificate every 8 hours. And so when you look at our solution compared to most of our competitors out there, we're providing a very high quality, performant, and secure solution that's available in the market today. And so in conclusion, basically what we're doing is like I said before, we're giving that overall quality of experience improvement on application performance under adverse conditions. Those adverse conditions could be you're suffering, a high amount of packet loss and latency on your connection. You're possibly sitting in a remote area of the world where your internet connection might be poor, things like that. We're enhancing that overall user experience to give you more of that in-office-like experience that we're expecting when we're, working now in this hybrid world. Like I said too, as well, we're a zero trust solution, and we have conditional access controls that allow you to strengthen access to those SaaS and private applications through application security posture, and then overall performance, quality of experience, with no trade-offs. And so with Cloudbrink, you don't have to choose between performance and security. We offer both without any trade-offs. And so in fact, Cloudbrink is one of the only products today in the market that offers that unique solution. And so, Ron, that was what I had to present for today. And just to thank everybody for your time. And if you're interested in learning more about us, you can contact through Ron. So.